Welcome back to Inspire Stories, where real life lessons meet unforgettable twists. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening stories. James woke up that morning feeling lighter than usual, as though the years of responsibility and sacrifice had finally begun to show their reward. For over a decade, he had worked tirelessly, often putting in late nights and weekends, building his small business from nothing into a respected company. He rarely treated himself to anything extravagant, preferring instead to invest in his business, pay his employees fairly, and take care of his mother and younger siblings. But on that particular day, James decided it was time to do something for himself. He had an important gala coming up, a networking event where some of the city's most influential leaders would gather, and he wanted to look the part. He planned to purchase his very first luxury suit. The city's upscale shopping district gleamed with polished windows, bright lights, and glossy advertisements. People strolled confidently from store to store, each dressed in high fashion, as though they had stepped straight out of a magazine. James, dressed in his comfortable jeans and a clean but simple shirt, felt slightly out of place, but he brushed the thought away. He knew who he was, and he knew what he was worth, even if others couldn't see it at first glance. With a quiet confidence, he walked into one of the most prestigious boutiques in the district, a place known for tailoring suits for celebrities, CEOs, and politicians. The moment he stepped through the door, the atmosphere shifted. The air inside was cool and scented faintly of expensive cologne. The marble floor gleamed beneath his shoes. On one side of the boutique, mannequins stood dressed in elegant three-piece suits, each tailored to perfection. On the other, leather chairs and low-glass tables created a lounge-like space for waiting clients. Behind the counter, the owner of the store, a tall woman in her early 50s with sharp features and a designer dress, glanced up from her paperwork. Her eyes swept over James from head to toe in a single disapproving glance. Instead of greeting him with a smile or offering assistance, she tilted her head slightly and whispered something to a younger employee nearby. The two of them chuckled softly, exchanging looks as though James had wandered into the wrong place by mistake. James ignored it at first. He knew that appearances often mislead people. He calmly moved toward one of the racks, running his fingers lightly over the fabric of a dark navy suit that caught his eye. The material felt smooth and rich, unlike anything he had ever owned. "Excuse me," James said politely, turning toward the owner. "Could I see this one in my size?" The woman raised her eyebrows, her lips curling into a faint smirk. She walked toward him slowly, her heels clicking against the marble, and stopped just short of where he stood. "That suit," she said in a tone dripping with condescension, "is one of our most expensive pieces. I don't think it's what you're looking for." James blinked, caught off guard by the bluntness of her words. "I assure you, I know what I'm looking for," he replied calmly. "Could you check if you have it in a 42? The woman laughed quietly, shaking her head. "We cater to a very particular clientele here," she said, her voice low but firm. "This isn't the kind of store where people just browse casually. If you're not serious about making a purchase, I think it's best you leave." A silence settled in the store for a moment. The younger employee, standing behind the counter, was watching with a mix of curiosity and discomfort. James could feel the weight of their stares pressing on him, but he refused to let his composure slip. "I came here because I am serious about making a purchase," James said. "I'm prepared to pay for quality. Isn't that what your store is about?" Instead of answering, the owner crossed her arms and let out a dismissive sigh. "Let's be honest," she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Men who come in dressed like you don't walk out with $1,000 suits. You're wasting my time and my staff's time. Now, if you don't mind, I have real customers to attend to." The words cut deep. James felt his chest tighten, not out of shame for what he wore, but from the blatant disrespect. He thought of his long years of hard work, the nights spent drafting business proposals, the contracts he had fought to win, the steady growth of the company he built with his own hands. He had earned more than enough to afford anything in the boutique. Yet here he was being judged unworthy simply because of his appearance and the color of his skin. Trying one last time to bridge the gap, James asked, "Is this truly how you treat everyone who walks into your store? Do you judge them before you know who they are?" The owner tilted her head, her smirk hardening into a scowl. I don't need a lecture from you. I run a reputable business, and I decide who belongs here. Please leave before I call security. The words hung in the air like a slap to the face. James stood still for a long moment, his hands still resting on the fabric of the suit he had admired. He could have argued further. He could have raised his voice or demanded to speak to someone else. But instead, he slowly let go of the suit and straightened his back. His pride and dignity were worth more than her ignorance. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the door. As he stepped outside into the bustling street, the sound of laughter floated faintly behind him. The younger employee had muttered something to the owner, and she had laughed as though she had just rid herself of a nuisance. James clenched his jaw, his footsteps measured and steady. People on the street hurried past him, unaware of the sting in his chest. He reminded himself not to let anger consume him. He had faced prejudice before. He had been underestimated many times. Each time, he had proven people wrong not with words, but with results. He walked a little further down the street, his reflection flashing in the windows of other boutiques. His casual clothes did not define him, nor did the arrogance of a store owner determine his worth. Still, the encounter gnawed at him. He thought of others who might have walked into that store with hope and left feeling humiliated, believing the cruel words thrown at them. He wondered how many people had been dismissed, turned away, and made to feel small by someone who judged them on nothing more than the surface. The city buzzed around him, cars honking, vendors calling out, and shoppers laughing as they carried their glossy bags. James paused at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. He would not allow the bitterness of that moment to overshadow his day. If anything, it strengthened his resolve. He would find another store, another suit, and he would carry himself into that gala with pride, knowing that no amount of money or fine clothing could replace the respect a human being deserved. But deep inside, a quiet thought lingered, a thought that would come to life sooner than he expected. People who treat others with contempt often face the consequences of their actions. Life had a way of balancing the scales, sometimes in ways that were swift and undeniable.